Hi everybody, it's Amy from Winterwood Studio, and today I'm going to do a little voiceover while I do a time-lapse showing you how I drew this portrait of a girl on a summer day with my Pentel oil pastels. So this is the same paper, the same oil pastels. If you follow me, you've already seen my first two attempts using the Pentel oil pastels, and they did not go well. But to be fair, this was my very first time ever using oil pastels, not just this brand, but ever. So it was definitely a learning curve, and I'm not going to pretend like I know everything that I'm doing, but it's a lot better. We'll say I've gotten a lot better. So the main difference here was that I was using the oil pastels more like I would colored pencils and less like I would oil paint. So I guess because they're oil pastels and they're supposedly related to oil paint, I thought that I would be able to use them like oil paint. And maybe with the nicer brands or with better paper you can, I don't know. I do plan to do some testing and try out some other brands and different papers and see if that makes a difference or not. But as far as these particular oil pastels and this paper, it didn't work to use them that way. So instead of doing thicker layers and getting coverage and then planning to layer on top of it, I'm using thin glazes of color like I would with colored pencil. So I don't know if you've ever used colored pencil before, but that was really the medium I first got started with after just plain ink drawings. And colored pencil is great. And there's two ways to build up layers. If you're going to use colored pencils, you can add layer after layer after layer and then burnish it when you're done. Or you can use your colored pencils to build up some layers and then use odorless mineral spirits to sort of dissolve it and put it all together. So I started here fully intending to treat this like colored pencil and use some odorless mineral spirits to blend it all together in the back instead of trying to blend with the actual oil pastels. I think after doing some research and watching some other people that maybe it wasn't just me. It seems to me that the Pentel oil pastels must be pretty hard to blend with your fingers or blending stumps or anything like that. Generally, it seems like when people are blending these, they're using another oil pastel to blend it together. And I found that once you do that, that's pretty much all the layers that paper is going to take, and then you have no room for more layers. So I fully start planning to get to a certain point where I felt like I had enough layers to blend with the odorless mineral spirits just like I would with colored pencil and then blend them out, which you will see me do in a minute here. It was the only time that I ended up using the odorless mineral spirits. I didn't need them for the rest of her dress or her basket of flowers. It was mostly just for the background and the sky and her hat and hair and face. And there's the odorless mineral spirit. It's the Mona Lisa odorless mineral spirit. I also do use the Gamsol odorless mineral spirits as well. I'd like to try the Zest It and the Lavender Spike. I have not tried either of those yet. The Zest It I have not been able to find anywhere here in the United States where I can order it yet. So if anybody knows where you can get that one, let me know. Or the lavender one. These don't bother me at all. I know that they do bother some people, but they don't bother me. However, I do worry about just being around them. I know that they're not completely non-toxic. I know they're a lot less toxic than the older versions, but they're not non-toxic. And just having the health problems that I do and young kids and pets and a small house, I do still worry about using this around all of us. I guess maybe one of the benefits to having one of the more expensive brands of oil pastel is maybe not having to use the odorless mineral spirits to blend it. I don't know maybe you still need to, even with expensive brands. I guess that's, again, something I'll have to test. If the more expensive brands are able to be blended without that, that would be a huge plus in my opinion, and it would totally make them worth the price for me, just because, like I already said, I'm already worried about health and safety and whatnot. That's one of the reasons why I don't do more oil painting as well. I tend to do that more in the spring, summer, and fall when I can leave the windows open for quite a bit. I don't even use the oderless mineral spirits to do anything with my oil paints except clean my brushes at the end, but I still worry. Which is maybe another reason to try the water mixable oils, which I haven't tried yet, but I've been hearing lots of good things, and you guys have been giving me lots of excellent recommendations for brands and stuff, so thank you for that. So the one thing I really did like about the oil pastels, and it's also what I happen to like about the soft pastels, is how my work ended up being a lot looser and not so tight and detailed. I really liked the finished look of this piece. And even the one that I did of the trees last week that I really struggled with, the finished looseness of it, I really enjoyed. Most of my work is extremely photorealistic, very tight, very detailed. And, I love photorealism. But lately, I've really been struggling with the idea of, if I'm just doing what a camera can do, is it still art? And what's my purpose as an artist if I'm just doing what a camera can do? I mean, it's not what a camera can do. I change the colors and the contrast and the values and move things around and stuff, but it's been something that I've been thinking about a lot lately that I never really thought about before. It never bothered me before. I don't know why it is now. Maybe it has something to do with all my favorite artists, which tend to be, the impressionistic artists. I love Degas, and Van Gogh is my favorite, and Monet, Klimt. I love Mary Cassatt. I especially love her The Child's Bath and Little Girl in a Blue Armchair, I think they're called. Those are beautiful. I love everything by Frida Kahlo. Her work is amazing. Her biography is amazing too. I should drop that in the links. I really like to read biographies of famous artists. That's some of the books I really like to read too. The Van Gogh one is really good too, although sad. I love Toulouse-Lautrec. His work is amazing. So one thing all those artists have in common is that none of them are super realistic. I think that as far as realism goes, I don't necessarily do my art that way on purpose. I think I just keep going and going and putting in more and more detail until it happens to look super photorealistic. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. And especially with my animal artworks, I do want to be photorealistic. At least the ones that I've been working on lately. So I'm not saying that I will never do photorealism or that there's anything wrong with it. I like it and I do intend to do more of it. It's just I'd like to be able to do non-super photorealistic stuff as well. And I haven't really been able to find a way to do that yet. But using these oil pastels and also the soft pastels that I've been playing with this year forced me to do that. I mean, there's just so much detail you can put in, and when you reach that level, that's where you're at. I mean, especially with these and like the soft pastel sticks, as long as you don't pull out your pastel pencils, they're round and chubby or square and chubby or, rectangular and chubby, but they're all chubby. You can't get a good point on any of them to put in all of those super realistic details. So it sort of forces you to stop at a certain point, which I have trouble with, I think. I've really fallen in love with the soft pastels this year. They make me so happy and they're so fun. They're so fun for me. I find myself with a lot of other mediums getting frustrated at points. I get frustrated with acrylics a whole lot, which I've talked about a bunch, and a little bit with oil paints, and I get frustrated with colored pencil because they're slow, and watercolor often does stuff that I don't want it to do, but these oil pastels and the soft pastels I've really been loving, so plan to see more of those in the future. And here we are at the tape peel. It ripped a little bit there. This is Artist's masking tape. I had never used it on the Canson Mi-Teintes or TNS paper, and it ripped. I don't know how I would get around that. I don't think I'd want to use a hairdryer to loosen it if it was oil pastels. I feel like they'd melt. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I am really happy with this, how this turned out, and really enjoyed using the oil pastels for this. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe, and until next time, happy creating!